The views expressed are not necessarily those of KSCJ and Powell Broadcasting Company. This program is not intended to replace the advice of doctors or other clinical providers. Consult with your practitioner to ensure the proper course of action for you.
Welcome to When Things Aren't Going Well on AM 1360, FM 94.9 KSCJ. This program is dedicated to your mental health wellness and brought to you by Family Services, a United Way partner agency. Here's your host, Art Silva.
Good morning, Siouxland, and welcome to When Things Aren't Going Well. This is your weekly show about what you can do to help your mental wellness in an ever-changing world. Today, we're going to talk about something very interesting and very, very important, and that's cybersecurity. Now, you can get hacked at home, and you've heard about the businesses being hacked and what they're paying, the exorbitant ransoms. So this is something we thought could help everybody. So we're glad you're with us this morning, and I'm going to introduce my co-host and sitting in the right seat, Brenda Geisinger. Good morning, Brenda.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. I want to take this time and have you introduce our guest and our topic today.
I would love to. So we have with us today Tony Olson. He is the CEO of D2. It's an IT company that our agency works with. Really, I kind of consider you part of our family. And he does phenomenal work. The company and their team does amazing things, everything related to IT, marketing, and just bringing what we do out into the world, and has a lot of information also about cybersecurity. One thing I always appreciate, Tony, is not only are you an IT company, but you give us information and tips and how to stay safe and how to use the technology. So it really is more than just fixing a computer or the technology. It's so much more that you bring to us. So, Tony, you want to say a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Brenda, and thank you, Art. And I appreciate that you consider us part of the family, because we feel that way too. We love the mission of Boys and Girls Home, and we love to be right in the middle of it. And IT in cybersecurity is obviously one of our big focal points. But yep, as you mentioned, my name's Tony Olson. I grew up in Chicago, and I got my bachelor's degree from Illinois Institute of Technology in electrical engineering, focusing on computer design. Master's from University of Massachusetts in computer architecture. I worked at Zenith. They were a unknown kind of a computer company, but very large. They sold a lot of computers to the government. I worked there for about 13 years, and I came to Siouxland to work for Gateway, and I worked there for 10 years. I was at Gateway. I was the vice president of engineering and product development, and kind of after Gateway, I formed D2, and I could tell that Gateway was kind of starting to when Ted Wade bought E-Machines, Gateway was 26,000 people, and E-Machines was about 129, and I talked to the new CEO of the company, was the head of E-Machines, and I could tell we were going to be much more like a 129 person company. So I said, how about if we roll out and we help you do the things that you're going to outsource anyway? So it was very amicable. Talked to legal and HR, and that's kind of how D2 was born.
Well, we're glad you're here, and you certainly are timely with what you're doing. You went to UMass?
I did.
I knew I liked you for some reason. I'll tell you. That's great. Just learn that. Well, Tony, let's talk about cybersecurity. First of all, let's frame it. What is cybersecurity?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, the word cyber has kind of taken on a meaning of its own, but it really is the culture of computers. And so cybersecurity is the security around computers and computing devices. I mean, it's not just PCs. It includes our smartphones and so many different types of devices, or even maybe our Ring doorbells or many devices that we deal with every day. And it's the security of that, and that is so vital. The world continues to change, and more security needs to be applied. Yeah.
Well, we talk about, we hear a lot in the news about ransom and cybersecurity breaches, but like you just said, this could affect anybody because it also goes to the cell phones and other devices we have. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right when you said it can affect everybody. It does affect everybody. And I think there are some studies that show 1 in 3 people in America were hacked in 2023. And not everybody even knows that. And the people that were hacked don't always even know they were hacked because of the types of information that was gathered.
How many times have the three of us can answer this question? You had a friend say, "Don't send me anything. I've been hacked."
Right.
And I've seen that quite a few, and I'm sure folks in the listening audience have also had that same experience. So, how sophisticated is this? I mean, what are we dealing with here?
Yeah, it's amazing, Art. I think computers used to be like small town America not that long ago. Small group, everybody knew each other, they trusted each other. It's kind of like you didn't lock your cars, you didn't even lock your front door. That has changed, and it has changed in computers. What's happening now is there's a book out there that I wrote with some fellow people. It's out on Amazon. By the way, all proceeds go to charity. It's called On Thin Ice. But what I documented there is what I believe are kind of four movements in cybersecurity. Originally, it was cyber curiosity, and it would be the pimply faced punk in his mom's basement, kind of just wreaking some havoc, making jokes and things like that. But then once they realized how they could do that, cyber criminality started to come. That's the second wave, where you'd started to see basically some basic little things where people were targeted, but tried to make money, tried to steal information. The third one, and these 3 and 4 is where we're at now. We are really at cyber organized crime, cyber commercialized crime, where we have these groups set up in China and in Russia, where they are set up with corporations. They're staffed like corporations. They have product development companies. They have people to handle incoming revenue streams and invoicing and all those kinds of things. And they're pouring a ton of money into coming after people because it's so lucrative. The fourth wave, and we're gonna talk a little bit about this, is actually cyber terrorism, cyber espionage, and our FBI director Christopher Wray just early this year said, "Brace yourself, prepare. We are going to get hit with cyber espionage and cyber terrorism." And
it's the new deal, and I'll tell you, it's something we really have to look at because we're still learning as we go along. And as you mentioned, they're very sophisticated out there. I'm Art Silva, and you're listening to When Things Aren't Going Well, right here at 1360 AM, 90.9 FM, KSCJ. And with me today is Tony Olson from D2, and we're talking about cybersecurity. Brenda, let me ask you a quick question. What level of security do you have on your devices?
So,
Personal.
my personal devices, I just have a cell phone. I don't even have a computer at home for various reasons, but I am very cautious. I don't know enough about computer and technology. So if I don't know something or I don't know who it's from, I don't open it. And I always just, if somebody really needs me or wants to reach out, they know how to do it the right way. And if I don't know you or don't recognize this number, then we're not going to connect.
Well, there's one point that it impacts. I know, Tony, earlier this year when you came into the agency, your team put in, we started on this cybersecurity. We put a lot more defense on our side to protect against this, but you never know if it's there. You really don't realize it until you've been hit. And we hear these terrible stories going on, and we'll talk about the terrorism piece a little later because that just funds a lot of bad activities in the world. So, looking at this cybersecurity deal, I read something about you can walk through a mall and somebody can read your credit card, by your back pocket or some type of device that scans it.
In credit cards today, there are actually active chips, and they are powered by a signal being sent to them. So this technology is not new. They're RFID. They use it for inventory and different things like that, where the signal is sent, that energizes the circuit, and it sends back information. And so that's why you've seen increased security in cards. First they went from the strip to a chip that would, and then now to the scanning of it. And it's changing rapidly to try to stay ahead of all of these types of devices and methods.
Do you think they're staying ahead of it?
It's an ongoing thing. I think we're at a point where it's never going to end. It's just one thing escalates, the defenses get better, then the attacks get better, and it's just going to keep going. I don't think this is going to end.
Well, what worries me is we can talk about the credit card side and stuff, but I worry about our resources like water, our infrastructure, and can that be affected by cybersecurity?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me tell you a story. This is not widely known, but it's well documented. There was a virus called Stuxnet, and it went into the Iran nuclear system, and this is about 10 years ago. And this They gained information about how the nuclear devices worked, how they were programmed, and then and this was an ongoing thing where they gathered information, they created an attack plan, and then they went in and hit the centrifuges and caused them to spin. This is all done remotely at such a high rate of speed that they destroyed themselves. That's the first known example that we have where the cybersecurity crossed from the cyber side into the physical world. Now, nobody's claimed responsibility. It's widely believed that was a joint effort between the U.S. and Israelis to try to destroy the Iranian ability to build nuclear bombs. But that was 10 years ago. So you imagine how this has advanced, and there are people, as they mentioned, our director Ray has said, we have to watch our water systems, our electrical systems, and we do need to be prepared because the ability is there, and everything's connected. Everything has devices in it that's able to report out the health and different service things. So we're there. It's not a possibility. It's happening.
We're happening right now. And now we're talking about TikTok, and that's right out there in the open with everybody. So we'll come back to that in a moment. We're coming up on our break right now. We want you to continue your morning chill. We'll be right back with more of When Things Aren't Going Well right here on 1360 AM, 94.9 FM, KSCJ.
Let's face it happens to all of us. However, the pandemic has compounded all of our lives and activities. Even the simplest tasks seem harder. Hi, I'm Brenda Geisinger, the Chief Operating Officer at the Boys and Girls Home and Family Services. Family Services is a United Way partner agency serving children and families of our community, and we're here to help. If you'd like to learn more about Family Services, please contact us via email, website, Facebook, or phone Mary Pickens. At Family Services, we change lives.
Welcome back to When Things Aren't Going Well on KSCJ. Here's Art Silva.
Welcome back to When Things Aren't Going Well. I'm Art Silva along with Brenda Geisinger, and our guest today is from D2, and he's our super detective, Mr. Tony Olson, and he keeps you safe on the computer side. So Tony's telling us a lot about what's happening in cybersecurity, and if you think things aren't going well, get yourself hacked or get your business hacked. You really got some problems. So, Tony, let's talk about a little bit that's in the news today, and that's TikTok. What's your thoughts on TikTok?
Yeah, TikTok. It is. People don't realize this. TikTok is the biggest business-to-business transaction platform. So it's more than just for kids. But the reason people are concerned is really twofold. One is that it's owned by China. The information is clearly being gathered about all of the users. Even more than that, this is one of the first platforms that is actively putting out information and propaganda to try to steer the thoughts of given demographics, like our young children.
Yeah,
they're trying to get into a certain direction.
Yeah. I don't think it's a great direction to go in. It's unfiltered. Yeah. And some of these crazy things on TikTok, like subway surfing and things like that, that doesn't make any sense. So I'm not a fan of it anyhow, but that's going to get me in a lot of trouble. So if you're learning how to dance and something like that, that's a good use of TikTok. Okay, we'll leave it there. Tony, let me ask you, we got something that's out there that's called the dark web. What's the dark web?
Yeah. That is actually one of the things that has helped proliferate a lot of these cyber crime. So the dark web is part of what's called the deep web. The deep web is things that's not scannable by normal measures. So Google has these, they call them spiders. They go out and find everything, an index. Like, how do you find different websites? The deep web, you can't. It's not indexable. You don't know what's beyond that line. And one simple, legitimate example is corporate internal websites. They don't want anybody else to have them. Nobody can scan them. That's legitimate. Inside of the deep web is the dark web, where it takes a special browser style to be able to even go out and see these things. It's layers of encryption. So the browser is called Tor. It's the onion router. And the onion means there's layers of encryption. So people can go out to the dark web and look at different things, and there's continued layers of encryption. The whole idea is to hide your identity and what you're surfing on there. Now, again, there's many legitimate things on the dark web, but it is the perfect place because of the anonymity for criminal activity. And one of the things that's happening is, and why these attacks are proliferating, it used to require, kind of great computer minds to create these different things. Now what they're doing to monetize it is they're building a kit and saying, here's how you can do ransomware. And they sell it on the dark web. These people can go out and buy it. They don't have to develop all that. There's a kit already made. So now that's causing this to explode, to say, Joe average programmer now has the ability to take what was done by some really great programmers on the dark web, buy it, use it, no traceability on that.
How does the dark web affect us? Can someone grab our identity? How do we know if we're on the dark web?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Because it is used for selling stolen identities. It's used for many different types of criminal purposes like that. So there are techniques to be able to scan the dark web, to be able to see, are you out there? Are your credentials out there? Is there anything being reported out there for you? Now, I think that, does the average person have to worry about it? Probably not. But I think the more prominent you are, the more well-known you are, the bigger of a position you're in, that's where it starts to become serious, because what's happening with all these capabilities is the bad guys are able to target specific organizations and specific people and say, I know I'm going to go after this person. He's the one that handles the money, or she's the one that has these decisions. They can determine all that and then target them very specifically now.
We've seen a lot of breaches recently in the medical field. Like right now, I think United Healthcare is dealing with a serious one. And from what we're hearing, it's costing them a ton of money to fix this problem. So let's talk about ransomware. And where does it go? Where does the ransomware usually go? Those funds usually end up.
Yeah. The biggest ransomwares, again, go back out to Russia and China. It's nation state organized. So we know that, they say that directly goes for funding the Chinese military is what people are saying. Same with Russia. So it's a business. I mean, they're making profit. They're putting it back into the business to create better capability to do these kinds of attacks, and then they're funding the state. So it's big business and organized like a business.
I know, Brenda, you have to deal with a lot of confidentiality. We have the HIPAA laws that we have to abide by.
Yes.
And we do a lot of texting, and we do a lot of over the internet work. So what are your thoughts on that? I know you've trained your people on how to do this and what to look for. You want to talk about that?
It's one of those educational things with your staff you cannot stop or assume people know. It's that repetitive reminding, teaching, and staying diligent about what is your system all about. Even our electronic medical records, so who can have access? How do you make that happen? What are the time limits? All those security things that you just have to constantly stay on top of. I'm not a computer whiz. I like to say, what's the mother brain or the mother chip doing? But, you have a company like D2 that really kind of keeps you up to date. You have to look for this, Brenda, or you have to do this and keep it all in check and make sure all of your staff are always diligent about it.
This has been really interesting, and I want to make sure we get in before we end the show today. Tony, how can your company help?
There's two ways we can help organizations. One is, in the classic way, is we come in as what's called an MSP. We become your IT provider. We're your IT group. We become part of your company, and then we have our tools and techniques that we work with you on to keep you secure, to keep you efficient, and that's the way we classically work. What we're offering really started over the last 6 months, because cybersecurity is becoming such a problem,